Tonight, we have a sit-down, an exclusive conversation with Mr. Ola Olukoyede, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. His very first exclusive television sit-down interview since assuming office. And the SGF is seeking synergy from Nigerians to move the nation forward. Tonight, we'll be telling you what is proposing to achieve a progressive nation. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale here in Abuja tonight. Our attention is going to be about the EFCC, its activities, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, how he's directing the affairs of the EFCC, and some of the stories that you must have heard, and allegations by opposition party on the issue of those who are defecting and perhaps the hounding, allegations of a hounding of opposition figures to move into the APC, and of course some of the issues of those of you who register with that online fraudulent platforms, some of the latest that you need to know today. And let's begin by letting you know that the federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to building an inclusive, peaceful and progressive Nigeria, one where every citizen, regardless of religion or ethnicity, has the opportunity to survive and thrive. This assurance was given by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, who represented President Bola Tinubu at the 2025 annual meeting of the Nigeria Interreligious Council held in Owerri, the Imo State capital.
Voice is powerful. Let it be the voice that heals, the voice that unites, and the voice that uplifts. This meeting, therefore, presents us with an opportunity to reflect and realign, turning our present difficulties into opportunities. Urge us all to engage in honest dialogue, listen with empathy, and recommit ourselves to the ideas of justice, equity, tolerance, and mutual respect. These are not just religious virtues. They are the very pillars of national unity.
The chief host of that event and the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, has called on Nigerians and leaders at all levels to build bridges of love, trust, and understanding, strong enough to support and unite a resilient and inclusive nation.
It is a timely call to action. Without love, there can be no trust. And without trust, there can be no progress. Our beloved nation, more than ever, is a beacon, and we must answer to her by standing up to build bridges of love, bridges of trust, and understanding strong enough to carry us towards a united, varied, and inclusive nation.
All right, then, we're all set to speak with Mr. Ola Olukoyede. But before we get to do that, let's bring you up to speed with your political stories across the nation.
Justice Inyang Eko of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to release socialite and businesswoman Aisha Chimugu within 24 hours. In the ruling, Justice Eko also ordered that parties in the suit, especially the EFCC, should report before it on May 2 to give progress report on the order made. The EFCC has not filed any charge before the court, as investigation is still ongoing in the matter. A former Commonwealth Secretary General, Chief Emeka Anyoko, has called for a new democratic constitution that will will address the country's pluralism and birth good governance. Chief Anyoku made this known during the 14th edition of the Emeka Anyoku Distinguished Lecture Series on Good Governance in Enugu. The keynote speaker and former Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, called for good governance and a decentralized Nigeria.
Power must really return to the people, and can only be done only if we emphasize the centrality of power and make the state much more viable, local government much more viable, and at the bottom to top approach.
Stakeholders from across the political class, civil society organizations, development partners and religious bodies are advocating special seats to be reserved for women in elective and appointed political positions in Nigeria. This is a conclusion at a high-level stakeholders engagement in Abuja, organized by Stand to End Rape, to deepen the conversation on political gender-inclusive representation for women.
Well then, let's begin our conversation on issues shaping Nigeria's political and governance landscape, especially as it concerned the issue of anti-corruption war. Tonight, we have an exclusive sit-down with Mr. Ola Olukoyede, the Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, marking his very first televised interview since assuming office in 2023. Under his leadership, the EFCC has reported significant strides, including the recovery of several billions of naira, millions in dollars, and securing almost 4,000 or so convictions within a year. However, the Commission faces scrutiny of allegations of political interference, particularly concerns that its actions may be influencing defections to the ruling party. Tonight, we'll be having conversation around the anti-corruption war, the nation at large, and how we can, if not kill corruption, how we can tame it. What is the effort of the EFCC in maintaining integrity and public trust in the face of all of these, sometimes, criticisms coming from those who do not see enough of what EFCC is doing, or those who think they should be doing better? Let's get deeper into our conversation. I'm being joined by the chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, who is live for us in his office in Abuja. Thank you so much, Mr. Olukoyede, for your time tonight.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you very much, and good evening, Nigerians.
Thank you so much. Let's begin. You assumed office, and you came with a, well, your assumption of office also came with a lot of controversy, because there are those who thought were interpreting the law in different ways, and the EFCC asked about whether or not you are fit for office and what the law says and what not. But you assumed office, and you said you have your eyes clear on the goal. You know what you wanted to do. You know what the EFCC should do. You've been in the EFCC before, and coming now as a chairman, you set high targets for yourself. Would you say that the EFCC has come up or meet up expectation? And can you give us like a summary of what the EFCC has looked like under your watch?
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Nigerians. Upon my appointment and assumption of office in October 2023, I sat with my team and we reviewed the activities of EFCC over the past 18 years then. And we arrived at the conclusion that going forward, we must build on some foundation that has been laid. We must review certain areas of the operations of EFCC in order to fully achieve our mandate. But I tell you, it's been quite challenging and quite eventful as well. So we settled down, we introduced some reforms, having been part of the system as Chief of Staff and as Secretary to the Commission. And I can tell you what we saw in our result in year 2024 was a product of the reform we introduced. We introduced some institutional reforms to our processes, our procedures, and we came to a conclusion that, look, this work of anti-corruption is not just about making noise, it's about harming people, it's about impact. And one of the things we agreed was to use the instrumentality of this work to stimulate the economy. And if you follow the trajectory, if you follow the way we have been handling our investigations and prosecutions, you will understand that surely that is the path we had followed in the last 1.5 years. So by and large, we have settled down, we introduced reforms to our operations, reforms to our processes. We looked inwards, areas where we needed to firm up, areas where we needed to let our people know that the fight against corruption is no joke, and let our people know that governance is a serious business. And so we settled down. Immediately I assumed office, and the result is what we have seen so far. Thank you, Chiu.
You have presented a report that showed some level of improvement in the record of conviction and asset recovery of assets. And these were attributed to reforms that you have mentioned, and that you said is going to be the way to go. Part of the reforms, you said, the EFCC was going to look inwards to ensure that you clean your house, and those who are from the inside corrupting the agency, you are going to weed them out. How many of those have you caught, weeded out, or taken out of the system?
Thank you very much, Sean. People have accosted me so many times asking this kind of question. And now it's important for us that if you are going to, I mean, for me as a person, and for all my comrades in EFCC, that if you're going to fight corruption, you must fight it from the position of integrity. Because without integrity, corruption fighter, you don't have anything. And so we sank that into the mind of every operative in the FCC. And we look into records. We look at the cases of those who have pending disciplinary cases and those who have committed one infraction or the other, ranging from corruption to gross misconduct. And we came up with those cases, and we set up our disciplinary committee, and they found quite a number of them culpable, about 27 of them. We reviewed it, and we agreed that those people should leave the system. And I believe Nigerians knew that that was exactly what we did. And we didn't stop at that. There are so many pending cases that we are still working on. And as we begin to take the actions and apply sanctions as well, Nigerians will know how far we have gone. But so far, I think that we've been able to weed out about 27 people that we found their character not worthy of being part of this crusade. Thank you.
Now, has that in any way helped you to refocus? Because it was as though some of these bad eggs are a major problem to the progress of the EFCC. And it also comes on the heels of those who criticize the EFCC, that there are those who collect bribes, and when EFCC arrests people, there are ways you bribe your way through, and you can dodge prosecution, so, no matter, so far you can bribe people. And there are those who believe that in the EFCC there are selective prosecution, and there are those who say, if you write a petition to the EFCC, if you don't go and work it on the inside, it might not work through. Has that fixed the system? Because you came and you said you wanted to do a lot of reforms. And I know a lot of Nigerians will agree with you that there is a lot of rot within the EFCC when you assume office.
Thank you very much, Chun. And like I said earlier, and I'm still going to allude to what I said, that will review those cases. Now, I won't sit here and tell you that so far that we've gone, everybody has become a saint in the EFCC. There is no time. That day will never come that everybody will be a saint. People working in the EFCC are human beings, they are not spirits. So there will be this propensity for some people to misbehave, for overzealousness and all of that stuff. But the promise I made to Nigerians is as soon as we discover all characters, we will do something about them in line with our processes and in line with our regulations, in line with law. And that's exactly what we have done. Now, by that, you'll see some measure of a discipline on part of our operatives now, perhaps more than before. You'll see some measure of commitment on part of our operatives, perhaps more than before. You'll see some measure of awareness that, look, EFCC is a creation of law. And so if we're going to survive and we're going to deliver on our mandate, we must also operate within the confines of the law. And so we have sunk that into the mind of all our operators. And I can assure you, for me, I may not be able to judge, but for those people who, let me patronize the services of EFCC, people have been writing petition and all of that. If they will be fair to the commission, they will attest to the fact that things have changed, particularly about the disposition of our operatives, and about the attitude to work, and about their commitment to discipline and integrity.
Now, let's get into one area that has got a lot of Nigerians debating and talking, and it's about the 2027 general elections. And as those being, we've seen a lot of defections, movement across the political divides by politicians moving from one party to the other. The one that's got a lot of people's attention is those that have moved from the PDP to the APC. And there are kissing fingers being pointed in the direction of the EFCC as the agency being leading the supposed hounding of members of the opposition and being used by the ruling party to coerce members of the opposition to join the APC. How do you defend the EFCC in this accusation and allegations coming from some Nigerians, especially opposition voices who believe that the voice of dissent is being hounded and gagged just because of anti-corruption investigation, just for them to move to the other party?
Thank you, Sharon. I'm very sure Nigerians will attest to the fact that politics has not been introduced into the mandate of EFCC. And yes, people will read minutes to whatever we do. I'm not a politician. And as far as I know, no member of my operatives is deeply involved in politics. So we do our work in line with our mandate. And what's our mandate? That if somebody is found to have involved himself or herself in corrupt practices, financial crimes, it's our duty to investigate. If such people are found culpable, or if we're able to establish predication, to go to trial, to prosecute. And I've stayed within the confines of that mandate. And Nigerians will attest to it. Now, coming to the issue of somebody being investigated, ended up in joining a political party, you agree with me, I have not been appointed as the secretary or the chairman of any of the political parties, so that it will be part of my mandate to begin to draw people into any political party. And if Nigerians will also be fair to us, if you take the statistics of our work in the area of investigation, prosecution, particularly high-profile cases, you perhaps find more of members of the ruling party. Some of the cases that we've done. And so we must also be judged fairly. If you find members of prominent, not just members, prominent members of the ruling party, some of the people that have investigated and we have filed charges against. And so for us to close our eyes to members who perhaps are not people who perhaps are not members of the political party, or the ruling party rather, would be unfair to us and would be an injustice on our part. And I need to say this to Nigerians, with every sense of humility. My mandate is, if I discover you have stolen money, you will have questions to answer. Whether you are of APC, or you are of PDP, or you are of Labour Party, or you are of NPP, or you are of SDP, if a member of APC has stolen money, you will have case to answer. If a member of PDP has stolen money, it's like sandpaper, it won't digest in your tummy. You will have case to answer. So irrespective of your political affiliation or alienation, it is our duty to make sure that we do the right thing. So for us, the issue is, have you committed an offense, allegedly committed an offense? Have we discovered issues that you need to answer for? That is what drives our processes. That is what drives our action. And so our political, I don't belong to any political party. And to the best of my knowledge, we have not been influenced to do our work in such a way that is against our mandate or the process of law. And so that is what has guided our actions.
A very popular member of the APC has once said that when politicians move to the APC from other political parties, their sins are forgiven. And a lot of Nigerians perhaps will remember that saying. But let me ask you specifically.
Hello, Chiu.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Chiu, can you hear me?
I can hear you. All right, let's take a breather, everyone. And perhaps when we return, we will reconnect.
Hello, Chiu.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Oh,
I can hear you now.
Let's go ahead with the conversation since you can hear me. I was making allusion to a very popular statement made by a very prominent member of the APC sometimes back. And he said that politicians' sins are forgiven once they move into the APC. And those who believe that when opposition members are being hounded, as soon as they move to the APC, it does look like they get a soft landing. And I'm going to ask you a specific question, Mr. Chairman. It is said, and there are accusations coming from the opposition forces, saying that Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, a former governor of Delta State, joined the APC because he's under investigation by the EFCC and was joining the APC part of the administrative bill conditions given to him by the EFCC. Did you bail him on that condition?
I don't know about what you're talking about, Chiu. And I've said that, I've told you, and I've told Nigeria, politics has not been introduced into part of the mandate of EFCC. And we are strictly guided by the provisions of the law. We are strictly guided by the fact that if we find that suspiciously, found that somebody has be involved in financial crimes or act of corruption, we look into it, and if there is a case to answer, we call you to answer the case. The particular case you mentioned, you will agree with me that we started that investigation way back. So for somebody to have now introduced politics into it, as if we envisaged that somebody are going to use it as an instrument of bringing people to a political party. Number one, I'm not the secretary of any party, and neither am I the chairman of any party. Neither do I have the mandate to bring in to hand people into any party. That is clearly not my mandate. And like I told you, we are driven by the fact that, so if you discover people have committed financial crimes, we go after you, you have questions to answer, and if there are cases, if you've been able to establish predication, we'll prosecute you. That is what has guided our work. Now, let's take it further a bit. Nigerians should also know that, like I did say earlier, that we have had cause to investigate and prosecute prominent members of the ruling party. So could we have done that to chase them away from the party? Could we have done that to perhaps reinforce their commitment to the party? Other members of political, those who are not even members of political parties have been investigated and prosecuted by EFCC. So why should we single out a case and say because this person has been investigated and afterwards, down the line, he now just joined a particular political party? That is not my mandate here, and Nigerians should know that. That's not our mandate, and it would be unfair to judge the EFCC in such a manner.
Well, I mean, it's popular saying that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. The head of the ruling party is the president who appointed you into office. And the popular popular statement made by former governor of Lagos State, who says, may your loyalty not be tested. What Nigerians may be concerned about is whether justice will be served in the case of Senator Ifeanyi Okowa or any other person that is being investigated and who thinks that the APC is now a safe haven for them. And the question Nigerians will want to see you answer tonight is the reassurance is that justice is going to be served and that there's going to be transparency. There is not only opposition forces or voices or voice of dissent that are going to be gone after by the EFCC.
Chiu, I've answered you, and I'm going to answer you once again if you want me to emphasize that. I don't understand why you should single out the case of a particular ex-governor. Now tell me, Chiu, was that the only ex-governor we have invited since I assumed office? Is that the only governor I've been investigating? Is that, so I think it's unfair. Look, we must come together as a country, as a nation. We must even ask ourselves a question. Are we ready for this fight? Is there any national consensus that, look, we need to do this work to take Nigeria out of this mess? Because this frivolous, allusion to issues and all of that, for me, it's a source of worry, and should be a source of worry to all Nigerians. So because somebody belongs to an opposition party now, if he commits financial crime, I should not go after him? I mean, that's the question. Because somebody now will go out tomorrow and abuse Mr. President, because he's in another political party, abuse Mr. President, and I discover that he has committed financial crime, I should be afraid to investigate him and to prosecute him.
Mr. Olukode, apologies, please.
Position you are trying to establish.
Mr. Olukode, if the president asks you to stop investigating such a person, would you still go ahead? He was the one who appointed you into office.
No, that is not. Look, I think I need to say this, since you have brought that brought me into that arena. I think Nigerians should appreciate the kind of Mr. President we have at this time. And I've been serious about it. It's not because I'm occupying this position. Anyone who will be sincere, particularly those who work with Mr. President, particularly those who are members of the Federal Executive Council, particularly those who are heading agencies, ministries, and departments, anytime you see Mr. President, the body language of Mr. President is, look, what have you done? How much have you recovered? How much have you used the instrumentality of your work to stimulate the economy for me? To ensure that we deliver on our mandate. That is the body language of Mr. President every time I see him. It's not about, look, the man doesn't have time for this issue. People are just trying to distract the government. They're just trying to distract the working president. Those who are close to him will tell you, he doesn't want to hear anything apart from performance. He's a man who will sit down and put you to question about your activities. And it will question you, it will put you on your toes. So for him to have time for these frivolities of, go and do this because of this, stop doing this, I think Mr. President that I know, who has appointed me that I work with, is not made of that stuff. And that is what I can say about that. So this issue of go and stop this is not the kind of the president we have. The president, his body language, every time you see him, like he wants you to deliver on.
So Mr. Olukode, you are telling us that the president does not interfere. The president does not tell you who to go after. He doesn't interfere. He doesn't ask you to stop or wait on any case. Is that what you're saying since you are still in office?
And I'm telling you, Sheon, and I'm telling Nigerians, that the body language of Mr. President every time I see him is like, what have you done? How have you delivered on your mandate? How much have you recovered? All the money that have been stolen, what have you done about it? How much of the loopholes have you been able to block? How much of our budget are we going to deliver on using the instrumentality of prevention? That is the only thing I see in the body language of Mr. President.
So let me pick up on this quickly.
Don't do that. I don't.
Yeah, let me pick up on this quickly. The EFCC has been accused frequently of being used by the ruling party to intimidate its opponents. A former executive secretary of the NHIS, Professor, said he alleged that his ordeal with the EFCC is part of a scheme to silence him by the president.
Thank you very much. That's quite laughable. That's quite.
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, that's quite laughable. Now let me tell you something. Some of these facts, because also people should also take the pain to be sincere and to also discover before they react to understand what the issues are. The person you refer to has been investigated before I even assumed office as the executive chairman. That matter was not investigated under the current Mr. President. This case file has been there, and Nigerians were the fact that I promised that I was going to review some of these cases upon my assumption of office. And the ones we felt, look, justice should be done to, we will present, and you have been seeing me doing that. So the case was not even investigated under the current Mr. President. So why should now we begin to allude to the fact that the man is being witch hunted? About what? Are we not going to say because somebody is abusing Mr. President or belongs to other political party and there is a case against him, to stop? We will not do it? That's the question we need to ask ourselves as Nigerians. Are we ready for this thing? Do we have a national consensus to really fight corruption and financial crimes? We want to allude to all these frivolities, excuses, and all of that stuff.
Nigerians Nigerians perhaps some of these issues because there are eminent and there are prominent rather. That's a prominent, very big wing of the APC. Some of them, the leadership of the National Assembly. Some former governors of the APC, some of them serve in cabinet. The case of Beto, for example, is there. And people are saying, well, you speedy prosecute cases of opposition party. But when it comes to those who are in the ruling party, you look at what exactly is going on. I can start mentioning names of former governors of the APC that nothing has been done in their case. And those in the National Assembly, nothing has been done in their case. And these are governors who are in the National Assembly and who serve in the cabinet. And the reason why Nigerians are worried that is it the opposition that still or allegedly steal money?
Sheon, can you state statistics of the high-profile prosecutions charges I've filed in my 1.5 years in the office? Can we sit down and take statistics? And now you see the number of the members of the ruling party, even more than opposition, take statistics. So if you are telling me that someone has been charged against in opposition, why don't you talk about the cases of the members of the ruling party that have filed charges against? That's Nigeria that. And so, my guiding principle is, look, is a predicate, as established case. If you are giving one name of that have filed charges against, give you two of the ruling party that have filed charges against.
So, look, apologies. We need to, for technical reasons, because of the vision, we need to break and return our conversation with Mr. They continue. Right after everyone. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Our conversation with Mr. Ola Olukoyede, a rare, very first interview on television, a sit-down exclusive with the EFCC chairman since he assumed office October 2023. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. Let's pick up on where we left it off before that technical break. I was asking you about the prominent members of the APC, either former governors or sitting members of the National Assembly who had run the affairs of their state before going into the National Assembly. There had cases before now. All of a sudden, it does look like the popular saying their sins have been forgiven. Can you bring us up to speed with some of these cases? A lot of Nigerians know they're out there, they're in the public domain.
Thank you very much. You keep dragging me back to this arena of politics. You will not leave me out of politics. Now, I've told you, just take simple statistics of our high-profile cases. Look at the number of ex-governors and ex-ministers who are prominent members of the ruling party that we have filed charges against. Compare it to the list of those who belong to opposition parties or other political parties that we have filed charges against. And you agree with me that that judgment is misplaced.
Can you hear me? So now the question I'm going to ask is, I mentioned the case of Beto Edu because that's a very popular one. Without having to mention any other name, it does look like, what is the update about the investigation the FCC says it was going to be doing? We seem to have lost some connection with the EFCC chairman from base there. I've been speaking with the EFCC chairman, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, on some of the prosecutions and the activities of the FCC under him since October 2023. This is the man who has promised a lot of reforms and the questions that Nigerians are asking in respect of the activities of the anti-graft agencies. Plus, all right, I can see that he's back now. So I was asking a specific question in respect to Beto Edu case.
Okay. What's your question about Beto Edu?
What is the latest? What can you tell us about that case? The investigation seems to have
thank you very much.
Too long, and Nigerians are very impatient now.
Thank you very much. The same Nigerians have had case causes to accuse EFCC of lack of diligent investigation in the time past. Now, how long or short the conclusion of a case will be is dependent on the issues involved. There are cases we conclude within 3 months. There are cases 6 months. There are cases that take years. And I gave you an example. There's a particular case that I've just filed a charge on this year. And they started investigation on that case since 2007. It's just this year that I've just filed charge. Now, if we have been accused of lack of diligent investigation in the time past, EFCC will rush to court when they have not been able to build their case and all of that. Now EFCC said, look, we have reformed our system. We want to be more diligent in our investigation. If it's going to take me 1 year, 2 years to conclude on a case and have a watertight case with very formidable proof of evidence, I think it's going to worth the effort. And I believe Nigerians should also believe in us when we're doing this. Now, the case you have just mentioned, this is a peculiar case that involves not only the person you mentioned. Now we have close to about 27 other suspects in that particular case. So for you to just zero it on one person, and part of that case we do requires us to investigate close to about 174 accounts. Sean, do you know what it means to investigate 174 accounts? You will write to the bank to give you mandate on those accounts. They give you the statement of accounts. Some is as copious as you need to sit down for days for you to be able to do your link analysis, to do your financial analysis. And we are talking of over 170 accounts. And so my men have been working day and night. But I tell you, not until I'm able to build my case watertight, establish predication, I will not be established into going to court or into, well, which is not even within my mandate, announcing the report of my investigation. What we do, when we are through, we are ready with our report. If there are cases, if there are issues, if we have found culpability, we go to court. When we file our charge, Nigerians are free to apply, get our proof of evidence. You will see, the offenses that we have filed against such a person. You will see our proof of evidence, and Nigerians will know how far we've gone. So they should just be patient with us. If you have been accused of rushing to court without establishing our case, why can't you also give us the opportunity to also take our time and build our case? Thank you.
Is that the situation also with Madam Sadiq? What I'm trying to get the full names now. Who is also linked with the Better Edu case around the same period. Just to get the exactness. Sadiya Umar Farouk. Is that the same situation? Is that the same thing with Ayade? Is that the same thing with Matawale? The cases, the allegations against them and the petitions against them.
It's the same thing with all the cases that we will not be able to conclude on.
Let me take you to a rather disturbing one, which is a case of the Ponzi scheme. A lot of Nigerians are in pains now who have lost their money through these fraudulent schemes. This one allegedly masterminded by CBEX. How did this fraud ever happen under the watch of the EFCC? The logo of the EFCC is eagle. And you said that there's a popular saying is that wherever you go, the eagle eye of the EFCC will catch you. But why has the eagle eye of the EFCC not been able to catch this alleged fraud in the CBEX scheme?
Thank you very much. The case of crypto bridge exchange, also known as CBEX, is a peculiar case. You will recall that shortly before then, like probably 2-3 weeks before then, EFCC came out with a report and publication of about 58 names of companies, I think, that we have investigated. We have compiled records. We have filed charges against quite a number of them. As a matter of fact, before we release that publication, we have secured convictions against several of them. And so many of those cases are nearly being completed. So we published their names. 58 companies. Nigerians beware. Nigerians beware. Unfortunately, CBS was not captured in that report. And you know what? Still, when the going is good, nobody makes noise. Nobody talks. But it is when the bubble bursts that EFCC is dragged into it. There is no way, we don't have any magic wand to start looking for cases where people have invested, whether it is right or wrong, whether this will lead to fraud or not. We don't have such a one. So we wait most times until the bubble bursts. But the ones we are able to get intelligence on, that's part of the 58 that we have released. So this one, well, as faith may have it, some people got into it. They never told anybody when they were getting 100% on their deposit. When the gold was good, nobody reported to EFCC that this was quite suspicious. But when the bubble busted, EFCC was dragged into it. Yes, we have eagle eye, but our eagle eye will only capture what is within the range of our intelligence. What is outside that and what people don't report to us, we don't have any means of knowing. So like I said, it's a very pathetic case. I feel for Nigerians who have lost their money, lost their investment, and that's why my spokesperson, if you listen to one of the interviews, did make a promise on behalf of EFCC that we are going to do everything possible. And we are really doing everything possible. Right now, we have about 3 people in our custody that have made very useful statements. Unfortunately, the transactions was mainly in crypto. So it wasn't as if you put in 100,000 naira here and you get it. No, it was crypto. People change money to dollars and you put this in crypto, certain crypto wallets. And from that crypto wallet, they moved the money to another, crypto wallet, which was a pool. We call it pool wallet. From that pool wallet, they dissipated to probably some other 14 wallets that is not even within our jurisdiction. And so when we say something crypto, it is virtual. We have been so committed to this investigation because we have promised Nigerians. We have gone deep, we have gone far. We have established contact with our foreign counterparts, and we've been able to make some inroads. For example, I tell you, we have been able to block some accounts. We have been able to freeze some fund, which I will not be able to give you figure based on reasonable amount of fund we have been able to freeze. And so the matter is ongoing, but everything happens virtually. So with those funds that were frozen by us, also in the wallets, and the processes and all of that. But I can tell Nigerians that we are making inroads. We have made arrests.
But Mr. Olugayde, I read what your spokesperson said in respect of the CBEX. But the assurances the assurance Nigerians may want to get tonight is whether they can get their monies back. Can you give any assurance that they can possibly get their monies back?
The reality in criminal investigation. It will be difficult for you to sit down to say you are going to restitute fully. Nobody will promise you that. Yes, my spokesperson could have, made statement that probably because encouraging people that look, so that we don't encourage panic and all of that, because we learned that some people said they were going to commit suicide and all of that stuff. And the intent of my spokesperson was that, look, we will do everything possible to rescue the situation. And I just told you now, we are going to do everything possible. But I will not sit down and tell you and promise that we are going to restitute every victim. It will become practically impossible because of this money. Quite a substantial part of that money has been dissipated, and not within our system. And you know what happened, Sheung? It's an international racket. We are traced to other 3-4 countries now. In fact, the principal parties behind the entire scheme, most of them are foreigners. Most of them are not within our jurisdiction. And you know what that entails. In fact, it took our integrity, our proficiency, to be able to even freeze some assets that we've done now. And so, yes, we've embarked on that journey. Whatever we can get back, we will get it back, and we will let Nigerians know. But we will not be able to confirm that we will restitute every victim. That may be practically impossible.
Let me ask you quickly. There is an ongoing concern, which is a case that was heard in court today. The case in relating to Aisha Achimogu, who's gotten an administrative bail, but many have argued that her arrest in the first place, despite a pending court order, reflects what they have criticized your commission of a pattern of disregard for the rule of law. How do you respond to this concern that the EFCC may be overreaching its legal authority in high-profile arrests?
Come again, you said we did what in the case of Achimogu?
Achimogu, in our case, that she was going to appear before the EFCC, inform the EFCC, and now the court has asked that she be given an administrative bail. But there are those who are worried that with all of the court order, there is a pattern of disregard for the rule of law.
Where is the disregard for the rule of law, Sheriff? You can just point it out to me.
So the case as to the fact that the woman, they're saying that the arrest, I mean, this lawyer, our lawyer said, the arrest was unwarranted and humiliating, especially since she reportedly informed the EFCC about her return to Nigeria. And there are those who say, look, with all of this, why would you still go ahead and arrest the woman? Despite the fact that she told you she was out of the country, she was coming back. And there are those who are criticizing, especially educate us if we may know tonight, that this is not a pattern of disregard for the rule of law. It's not a process that is known to law, Mr. Olukoyede.
Sure, you agree with me, that's quite laughable. That's very laughable. For what you have even said yourself now, you can't clearly establish where EFCC has breached the law. You can't, because somebody was declared wanted. Somebody was invited. Now, this matter is under investigation. There are certain things I will not be able to speak to so that we don't vitiate the process of our investigation. And we don't also, drag somebody that eventually may either be found culpable or not into the arena of this controversy. Now, somebody is under investigation. Remember, we released a press statement that is not even, some of the allegations were not new. It's been ongoing. So the person went to court, the subject went to court and got an order against us. And that order was discharged February 19, 2025. The court gave us judgment that she could be arrested, she could be investigated. And so, following that order, we invited her. She didn't show up. And we confirmed, there is evidence, there is proof that she was in the country when she was invited. And I can give you dates specifically. She was supposed to report on the 5th. She didn't show up. And she was in the country, and we have seen, documents have seen that after our invitation on the 7th or 8th, she traveled. She came back again and traveled again, despite the fact that she was investigated. Mind you, she has been on bail since that investigation started. So we can easily conclude that she jumped bail. So that aside, now when she was declared wanted, she went to court for fundamental, and we joined issues. I mean, Lord, Justice Ekpo ruled that she should appear in court. Remember, there is a pending warrant of arrest. I mean, she should appear before him. So, and we got credible intelligence that, she was coming in. And we picked her up. We brought her to the office, preparatory to appearing before the court. Immediately that yesterday, we granted her bail. Contrary to what the insinuations you are reading out there, we granted that bail by ourselves. EFCC granted that bail yesterday. We served her bail conditions. If he had made that bail conditions yesterday evening, she would have been released. So we appear before court today. Court ruled that she should go and meet our bail conditions within a specified period, and we should release her. So tell me, where have we violated the law?
Because of our time, quickly, Mr. Olukoyede, let me go to the issue relating to mutilation of Naira abuse. Emeke Okonkwo, who is popularly known as E-Money, was detained and released within hours over Naira abuse allegations. Some Nigerians see this as a pattern of selective targeting of celebrities, where the question about the criteria the EFCC used in determining who gets detained or charged. You remember what Bobrisky also said. She claiming, or he, is he a he or a she now, that the constant scrutiny was driven more by his gender identity than by any financial crimes.
So it's, I wouldn't know whether how you're going to describe the person you mentioned. You know, some people will say it's a he or it's a she. I wouldn't want to offend, you know, the gender of anyone. But you have seen us bring in female, you have seen us bring in males. So I don't understand that, you know, how you're going to place that, that allegation, as it were. Look, what is important is we must also look inwards as Nigerians. We are trying to build a virile economy. And it's clearly stated in our law, mutilation of currency is a crime. Look, Sheil, what we are saying is whether it doesn't matter. We are not even probing to the source of your money. What we are even saying is, why can't we bring in sanity into our financial ecosystem? Sheil, between me and you are a journalist, you earn salary. You think you will collect your salary and you go to somewhere, form of celebration, and you begin to throw money, tear money, stamp on the money, and all of that stuff. You think people will take us serious? For me, it's something that we should eradicate from our culture, if it's a cultural thing. It doesn't help our economy. Now the younger ones are looking at the way we display dollars, the way we display bundles of money, and you think that we encourage them to be committed to hard work? You think that we encourage them to be committed to discipline? Yeah. These are the things we are trying to fight. Yeah. And let Nigeria, please, can we just agree?
We really need to go.
Do right thing as Nigerians.
Yeah, our time is
up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, our time is really up.
Thank you very
much.
If
you can do this for me in 20 seconds, there's been a lot of arrests of foreigners, which makes Nigeria look like a very good green ground for these foreign fraud activities. What are you doing to ensure that Nigeria is not seen as a country of fraudulent people or country where fraud can easily be done? Just in about 20 seconds, if you can answer that, because we're totally out of time.
Thank you very much. That's a classical example of our proactiveness and our proficiency. All our operations are intelligence-driven now. And now we are proving to the world that this issue of cybercrime and fraud is not a Nigerian thing. We have over 190 foreigners within our system building differences in our system. They've been arrested. The matter is ongoing in court. We can assure Nigerians and the international community that Nigeria is ready to play by the rules, and we are ready to cleanse our system of financial crimes and make our system a place where foreign direct investments is attractive. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ola Olukoyede, very first television sit-down exclusive interview and with Channel Television's Politics Today. Thanks so much indeed for your time. I wish you the very best in office. Thank you so much indeed. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.